All right. And
Let's go. Nice.
Yeah. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pog State. This is episode 10. We had a brief hiatus of a couple of weeks where I was off rollerblading. LS was probably still streaming. And we are now back. The summer season of the LCK is also back. And another excuse to have a ridiculous disclaimer is also back. And this Pog State does not represent the thoughts and feelings of Riot Korea or any other Riot-affiliated organization. It is purely myself and LS speaking our minds as candidly as we possibly can. Remember, guys, you can follow us on Twitter at Pog State. That is where you're going to get all of your news about when the next episode is going to be released and all of that good stuff. Also, if you want a more audio variety, of course, if you're listening on an audio version of this podcast, then you can disregard this. But if you're on YouTube, we are also on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on all sorts of other stuff, and that is also linked in the pinned tweet on our Twitter as well. So, without further ado, let's get into it. LS, how you doing, man? It's been a few weeks since we've done a Pog State.
I'm getting back into it. It's something. These weeks are or the summer the split weeks are always really stressful. Every Friday I'm up 24 hours. Which I'm thinking about having to just drop LEC from the schedule on Fridays, which is really unfortunate because it's the most fun region for me to watch. So that's something. And then
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, I slept really good the day before, but like I think I have really bad stress-induced insomnia right now, and it's very stressful because during the week I couldn't sleep. I was getting like 2-3 hours every single night. It was insufferable.
Yeah, that's not good. And you're casting here in the LCK like 3 days a week as well, so you get home and you're probably still pretty jazzed at that point.
Right, yeah. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I it was really, really bad. It was miserable. And then, yesterday, I managed to sleep though, throughout the night, so that was okay.
But at least you weren't commentating last night, which for you guys listening at home, that was Saturday night, and we casted all the way up until the start of the LEC. Actually, I think we were signing out, and we almost like handballed viewership over to the LEC at that point in time. Yeah. And so for you would have needed to teleport home, and I don't know whether we can do that yet.
Yeah, that's not a feature. I ended up watching the last. So for LEC, I just have my webcam and my timer, because you can't broadcast the actual games, for Europe, and so I had just the webcam and the timer. So I watched like the last, I don't know, 20 or no, maybe I think I just watched the last LCK game because it was already like 11:30, and I had my stream on anyway. So I was watching that, and that game was. I mean, that game, I don't know. I had some words about that game.
I could imagine.
In general, yeah. So anyways, let's not, I guess, get into it too deep. Atlas, how have you been doing?
Me? Look, I've been all right. You know, it's been a few weeks off. Haven't been doing the streaming thing. I've been focusing on my rollerblading. Looking to try and get a little bit fit for summer. I certainly did pack on a couple of the pounds. So I've been rollerblading a lot. And that's been super fun. I'm like addicted to, rollerblades. That's been what's happened to me. Also played way too much Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. I am officially approximately 15 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
good.
That's been what I've been doing. A little bit of, study and prep for the good old LCK and just commentary in general. But otherwise, just chilling, man. Just staying healthy and trying to be ready for what could be a crazy summer season, especially after what happened at the mid-season cup, or the mid-season catastrophe, as we like to call it. We were certainly dusted off by the LPL, and that was tough. I guess we should probably go into it just for a moment. I don't know whether I necessarily want to, but we should probably talk about it and the impact that it could have on the LCK, because I think actually it's going to be in a lot of players' minds. If you guys have been watching the Summer Split so far, we're currently 4 days in, and a lot of the like pre-game interviews and trash talk does involve a bit of mentioning of the MSC, especially on our first day for the T1 versus DRX series. And also Darmon spoke about it a lot as well. They seemed to me like Darmon actually utilized a lot of the strategies maybe learnt from our LPL brethren over there. But yeah, LS, like, do you think it's had any impact looking at the games that we've seen so far in the LCK and in the context of what we saw the LPL teams do? Do you think it's helped positively?
The weird thing that I'm seeing on Twitter from some people is that they're saying that the LCK is being more aggressive and making plays and all this other stuff and picking more early game and yada yada yada. And the really weird thing to me is I immediately think, like, did you even watch the MSC? Because the LPL teams didn't draft like that. They drafted more scaling relative to the Korean team compositions, which I was really adamant about, like on the streams where I was like watching live, because I wasn't able to be there because the corona case in my apartment, so I couldn't go to on Saturday and Sunday. I remember. I wasn't there to cast those games, and the LPL teams were just drafting more. Scaling's a misunderstood term, where people think that it just means that you somehow surrender parts of the game, but that's not what it means. So it's really weird to see these weird narratives that are like I don't know, conflated with the LPL. But when I watch like the LCK games so far from this week, there's a lot of like recklessness. I think where many things are seeming forced. I think that some of the champions are not causing problems, but I think that they're playing into it. I mean, but in the same light, we're having games where TF is picked, Lee Sin's picked, Nidalee is picked, and then we farm for 15 minutes. So
yeah,
the sample size is really low. I have no idea where these narratives come from. Do I think that MSC does anything to Korean teams? No. And okay. I would say no, because the same problems are present in draft that have always been there, and the same problems with like rotations, I guess, and decisions are still there. And I think it's going to be hard to like I don't think one tournament, unless it's like going to be Worlds or something, is ever really going to leave a long lasting impression.
No, I think you're right. I think what I was looking for after MSC was like a wake-up call. Like the LCK teams realized that, wait, maybe, what they're doing over in China's working, and maybe we should, take some leads out of their book. Because I'm really glad that you brought up the scaling in the early game statement. I think that the misconception is, and it goes back years, is that LPL plays just recklessly and crazy all game long for no reason, and they pick early in order to, do that better. They don't. They've never actually focused on early game picks per se. They just skirmish all the time, regardless of which champions they have. It's about taking the 60-40 play over, the 80-20s that we're used to here in the LCK. And what I think that people need to get into their heads is that it's not about how the LPL drafts. It's how they fundamentally play, based on Summoner's Rift that now has far less vision on it. And that's what happened ever since Tracker's Knife was removed. Like, this was years and years ago. And that was where like the change happened, and where Korea lost its stranglehold on League of Legends, because we kept the 80-20 risk mindset, but lost any ability to actually get certainty like that ever again in the game. And so I think that hopefully, the analysts are smarter than me over at all of our LCK teams, and they have worked out that, like, there are other reasons why LPL's good. One thing that I do like is that Top Esports are at the top of the LPL at the moment, and they're the team that, brutalized us the most over at MSC. So at least they're proving that they're also, a top team in the LPL as well. And they were very, very impressive at MSC. I'm still coming to terms with what it all means. But with the fact that, T1 got knocked out so early, which was a surprise to a lot of people. Gen G got absolutely obliterated.
Yeah, I think the format was not ideal. The best of one format is so weird. Because DRX ended up looking like they were just going to be qualified, and then they just went out.
And when it's a single round robin as well, like that's tough.
I mean, yeah, we can't really complain though. I mean, Worlds is kind of similar. Right?
I mean, Worlds is just a double round robin, right? You just play two games instead of one.
Yeah, you play. Well,
it's a best of two.
Yeah,
technically. But they're just staggered.
So, the best. I mean, and even Worlds has a lot of complaints about it. The bracket and how everything goes. Like, there's a lot of people that are adamant that Worlds should have double elim, which I'm of that school of thought, especially given that we do not have international competitions.
I also I completely agree with you, because I think group stage is always the most exciting when it comes to Worlds, and it does feel a little bit more like a double elim type situation, right? Because you do get to you
have tiebreakers and stuff.
Yeah, you have tiebreakers,
right.
And it's like double round robin, so you get to see the teams get to warm up, you get to see how the meta unfolds, but then it goes to the knockout stage, and you don't get to see very many matchups, right? And so you're promoting all of these teams, but then they don't get to meet each other, right. 2018, for example, like if KT was up against somebody else at the beginning of the tournament, are they then in the final? Because, KT got knocked out in the quarters by IG?
Yeah.
But that could have been the final, right? And why don't we get to see whether that could have been the case? And I think that's a great argument for double elim. I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, double elim is really nice. So MSC is really weird because the group format is awkward, and then just the way that the games ended up going, and then TES ended up winning, so there was that. But I think the effects on the meta or something, I don't think anything actually ended up happening. In terms of the meta. Yeah, I mean we're seeing different picks than we saw at Midseason Cup. So
yeah, and we're seeing a few of the same ones, but I mean that was obviously going to happen anyway because we've just moved on a couple of patches.
Yeah.
I think the Lee Sin conversation is a fun one, but we're going to have to not go into that right now.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to be able to mention that Cars's Lee Sin was absolutely extraordinary during MSC and reminded me that he is a champion that can be piloted in an effective way in the current meta of League of Legends. Just hasn't been demonstrated to us so far in the LCK for quite some time. Harkening back, of course, to his pretty abysmal win rate at the moment. I think 14 losses in a row when it comes to actual LCK games. Lee Sin won in the promotion tournament in the hands of Onfleek, I think.
He's won a game.
Did he win a game this week?
Yeah, he won a game this week.
Uh-huh.
Why am I blanking? He did win a game this week. Wait, let me check. I'll just check Lee Sin match history. Match history competitive. Okay. Didn't he win? He did. No. Oh, so, okay. Jesus. Wow. He's been picked so many times. He lost a game.
Win once.
Clid lost with him.
Pureshik won his game with him.
Yes.
In actually the debut game of DRX versus T1.
LCK Summer. Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pureshik picked it in game 3 of T1 versus Dragon X.
Oh,
that was
okay,
in
okay.
the
All right, yeah.
the
Okay, I got it.
What is it? The Ziggs comp.
Yeah. So Lee Sin was picked in LCK. It did end up getting a win. That was the Ziggs comp game that they ended up winning. Or, well, T1 ended up losing, I should say.
Well, yeah.
That was Keria turned the game around at bottom, right below the dragon. T1 inted. And then throughout the remainder of the game, the Bard ultimate plus Ziggs ultimate. I mean, that was the game where Kana just got exalted. He had so many leads like early on, and then that was also I don't know if Doran's aware of it. It sounds terrible to say this, right? But I mean, the way that LCK players itemize, it's like you can't think that like Doran's 10-head Warmogs against Kayle is really, really good, where you build Warmog's third item, you run up to the waves, you take 80% of your HP, and then you run it back underneath your turret. And she can't actually split push. I don't know if he actually built Warmogs with the intention to do that, from like a strategical point, or whether he just actually unintentionally stumbled upon it. And given how players in the LCK itemize elsewhere, I'm probably thinking it was unintentional.
I personally like to, think that.
You like to,
optimistically, I just like to think that Doran did it purely for the 5-head, and he nailed it, and he did, and it worked out. And do you know what's weird? It's actually this game was unprecedented with a lot of its strategical situations, because it's the only game I think in the LCK so far out of our first 4 days that Ezreal has beaten Aphelios. That was the one game.
Aphelios dynamics really, really interesting in general, because I think that most teams that are picking Ezreal into Aphelios, so they're opting for Ezreal, they don't play towards the things that Aphelios doesn't like, and they just rather they play into Aphelios instead, which that's that's definitely a problem. I mean, yeah.
Didn't happen so much for DRX in their first game, but there have been many subsequent games after that, and the Aphelios Nautilus seems to just win against any matchup bottom lane, even if it's like double ranged. It's really crazy. I don't quite understand how that one works, but we will go into that a little bit in the future. Just wanted to have a look at those Lee Sin stats as sort of a wrap up to the MSC thing. But we are experimenting a little bit when it comes to the structure of the Pog State for this particular episode. And LS, you've got a segment that you're going to be able to do. And I've also prepared a bit of a news segment for you guys as a bit of a refresher moving into the LCK. Some of you, of course, are not able to stay up until the wee hours of the morning if you are on the other side of the globe. And therefore, I thought that we'd probably give you a bit of a primer just to let you know what has happened in the LCK for the Summer Split, and allow you to follow on effectively understanding what some of the changes have been. So, without too much further ado, I'm going to go into the LCK news. So just give me a sec. Appropriate time-based greeting. I am Max Atlus Anderson, and this is LCK News. It was the first week of LCK for the Summer Split, but before we get into the results, we need to cover what has changed since the Spring Split. Starting at the top, T1 made very few changes in the off-season, most notable being that Closer changed the S in his name to a Z. Yeah, that's it. Gen.G, however, made a big move. Longtime coach Edgar has left the team, and coach Odin has stepped up to replace him as interim head coach. Edgar was with Gen.G from back in 2013, when the team was known as Samsung White and Blue. and stayed as they changed the Samsung Galaxy in 2014 to 17, KSV in 2018, and Gen G until spring of 2020. During his time, he claimed 2 World Championship titles with Samsung White in 2014 and Samsung Galaxy in 2017. Needless to say, Odin has some pretty big shoes to fill. Things were quiet, however, on the DRX front, although they did officially rename to just DRX instead of Dragon X. So there's that. Similarly for Damwon, they made a few changes to the team, but Zephyr was named officially as head coach. He was interim head coach prior to this, and Ghost has officially moved to starting marksman for the team, to absolutely no one's surprise. Here's where we get to the juicy changes though. KT Rolster. They've called back some former KT solo laners to augment their current roster. Yukal rejoins alongside Kuro in mid, as well as Smeb making his re-debut after a season away from the stage, joining Soan on the top side. I know many are nostalgically looking forward to when the former Rox Tigers solo laners take to the Rift together again. And also Acorn, who joined as a coach at the start of the year, renamed from Chunju back to Acorn, but I think we all still called him Acorn anyway. Afrika made no changes. Armor Life though, they made a few. Viper from the newly relegated Griffin has joined his former bot lane partner Lehens as the team's new marksman, and Fatal, now Dudu, Cad, John Jay, and Miru all moved to the main roster's substitute positions from Hanwell's trainee team. Dudu, Cad, and Miru have already played a few games with mixed success. APK Prince are no more. They are now known as Solhewan Prince, and jet-setting mid laner Mickey has rejoined the team after his stint in the LEC. Bit of backstory, Mickey has played in 4 regions so far, starting with China on WE's Academy roster in 2014, then back to Korea with Rebels Anarchy, who then became the Afrika Freaks and moved to Rox Tigers after that for a split in 2017. He was then in North America with Team Liquid and Golden Guardians until moving back to Korea to join APK Prince for one split in 2019, and then swiftly left to join XL in the LEC, and now he's back. But for how long, you could ask. Sandbox, after their visit to the promotion tournament, have made arguably the biggest change in the LCK for this split. The LEC's Yamato Cannon has stepped away from the casting desk and has once again put on his coaching hat as Korean League of Legends' first ever foreign head coach. Yamato was formerly a top lane professional player, starting back as early as 2011, but he's mostly known for his coaching work, Rockout, Splice, Team Vitality, his glorious deep speaking voice, and his incredibly young age for someone with his level of experience. Unfortunately though, it seems like he's going to have his work cut out for him after Sandbox's opening week. Last, but definitely not least, we have a new team in the LCK. Team Dynamics have finally promoted after many failed attempts, and with them comes a slew of familiar faces. Rich, former HOTS superstar and Gen G top laner. Beyond, the many-year MVP jungle representative. Kuzan mid for most notably Jin Air Greenwings for 2 years and Gen G. Plus Guga, who played support for Najin, both White Shield and Black Sword back in 2014. Played for the Taipei Assassins in 2015. Season 2 world champions, by the way. And over in the LMS. And of course had a stint with Kongda Monster prior to that, and played for a whole bunch of other teams as well in the years following. These veteran names are joined by LCK rookie marksman Dokdam, who played with the ID FaZe during the Team Dynamics clean sweep of the promotion tournament. Okay, with that out of the way, I can quickly bring you up to speed with the state of the LCK after our first 4 days of summer. At the time of filming this show, the standings are as you see on your screen for our YouTube viewers, or for our audio listeners, as follows. Afrika are in first, DRX are in second, both of them 2-0 as far as match score is concerned. Damwon and Solhewan Prince in third and fourth, both at 1-0 with one match to play. Team Dynamics at 5th and T1 at 6th with a 1-1 match score. Gen G 7th and KT 8th, both 0-1 also with a match to play. And Harmwell in 9th and Sandbox in last place, both of them on 0-2. Notably, Harmwell did manage to take a game in both of their series. Sandbox haven't managed to win a map just yet. As you can see, game score plays a part due to the best-of-3 nature of the tournament, so all teams fit neatly into their positions at this particular point in time. I think the biggest result of the first 4 days has to be DRX coming away with 2-1 against both T1 and Gen G. Our top 2 teams of the spring season didn't necessarily look as fantastic at the hands of DRX, but DRX themselves look like they fully embraced their already LPL-esque playstyle, with their games looking like a chaotic display of great mechanics led by Keria and Chovy, who look in absolutely amazing form. The Freaka Freaks have also pleasantly surprised their fans with 2 wins in the first week, but as both of their opponents came out of the promotion tournament, it's best to reserve judgment at this stage. Sunday's games will tell us a lot, but that's for you to know and for us to find out. That'll be enough for now. This was LCK News. What did you think? Do you think it was all right? Probably a little wordy, but otherwise, I had fun. Did you have fun?
Yeah, I think the only thing I was thinking of while this was happening is that there should be a green screen, and then...
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
Do you know what also we need? Need a teleprompter, so I'm not reading off a
there should be a green screen, suit, and then
All right, we can work on it. All right, this is the pilot episode of LCK News. All right.
Yeah.
So LS, how have things been going as far as the old spreadsheet? How have the predictions been coming along for the summer split? Are we doing okay?
So I can't access it right now because there were 3 different spreadsheets, and I asked the guy to destroy the 3 separate ones and fuse them into one with tabs.
Oh yeah.
But I can't access it. I don't know why.
Huh.
So I don't know. I know what the numbers are. I'm doing pretty bad right now, but if you look at LCK Spring, my worst 3 weeks were my worst weeks ever were the first 4.
Yeah.
And then everything got a lot better. I mean, 4 wasn't bad. First 3 were really bad. I know that LCS, I have the highest prediction rate right now. And then LCK, and then LEC. LEC is doing very bad. I think 56. I believe at this point in time, and obviously, there's like the G2 upset in there. There's the 2 Fnatic losses and whatnot.
I'm just going to cut you off there just for 1 second, because one of the Fnatic losses, I saw some people claiming on Twitter that was in fact your fault.
Yes.
If you could please explain why you told Reckless to play Soraka.
True. I don't know how to. It wasn't even just Soraka. It was like the playstyle, because I'm pretty adamant that Soraka's busted as a counter pick or with like proper team compositions with her. I think she's a hyper. But it's really strange. Like both of the Fnatic games too, it were very winnable. Or like they could have been won. Like the one last night, they had Ocean Soul, and then they just lost in front of their tier 3 turret.
Did they have Ocean Soul and Soraka?
They had Ocean Soul and Soraka. They found a way.
Oh my god, that's impressive.
They did.
Is that like
fine,
they overhealed themselves too much that they died, or something like that? Oh no, we can't hold all of this health.
Morello's pretty good, you know. I mean,
I guess so. I guess so. That must be it.
Yeah. So there was that. It was very strange. Like my Twitch chat was very weird. Because I was obviously I live view all the LEC games, and then Twitch chat was very weird about it. And then Reddit, and then like Discords, because there's lots of different community Discord servers. Like there's our Discord LOL, Discord Fnatic, there's Discord Summoner School, Discord LCK, like, you know. Yeah. So stuff was very weird, and some of the messages I was getting on Discord and DMs were all very strange. I was talking about it live while it happened. And obviously a lot of people chimed in on Twitter about it. Because it's obviously outrageous. Like, holy moly. Like, I don't even know. It's something.
Yeah.
You gotta do some real mental gymnastics. Yeah.
I think now that it's like we've had this like month off, and everyone's like got all of this pent up energy. Everyone's super excited about their teams like about to play and all this sort of stuff, and so every single thing that possibly happens means absolutely everything, because we haven't had any League of Legends really to watch. We missed out on like MSI because, of course, you know, COVID-19 is a thing, and I think that everyone's just ready to like get into their fandom like really, really hard. And unfortunately, you know, sometimes with great passion comes great disappointment and sadness. I think that's the Spider-Man quote, verbatim.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I can understand why people would, you know, come to the Soraka shill for all of their Soraka-based needs, but I don't think that the analysts over at Fnatic are going to be studying LS's stream in order to make their compositions. I'd like to think that more goes into it than that, despite your relationship with some of the players, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know, it's really weird.
Yeah, it was interesting. An interesting experience.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's something cool about it, though. You know?
It would be like it would be like if Voldemort would be blamed for everyone that loses with Twisted Fate. You know, that would be that's the equivalency. By the way, is if anyone who ever picks TF loses, it's because of Voldemort.
Dang it! Not Voldemort again.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, man.
I'm not going to go into it. I was about to, like... I know Harry Potter spoilers are a thing that have been, like, statute of limitation a long time ago, but I'm still scared of it. Really, really scared of it. Something about that I can't handle. But anyway, we can move on. So things not going so well as far as predictions are concerned, and because of that, I want to jump right onto it, because we have a couple of matches that are coming up in a few hours' time from this point. And I think that it's actually really interesting looking at these games. Damon's going to be playing again. They are currently 2-0, and they looked very convincing in their first victory. But who they were going up against wasn't necessarily the greatest of opposition. And now, I mean... So they're playing against Sole One Prince. Yeah. And they looked good in their win, but did they look good enough is kind of the question. And then we get to see Gen G versus KT, an age-old matchup.
But anyways, Aphelios 200 years them to a victory, if you remember in that game.
Yeah, that's right.
So that was a real thing. And then hybrid PayPal or hybrid's PayPal was well received in front of the inhibitor, so that was something too. So like their early game and their mid game is nice, but their late game is disastrous, and against Dom1 I don't think that's a good matchup for them at all. And then for KT versus Genji, I imagine that everyone would favor Genji. But for like my predictions in general, I just want to like explicitly say that those sheets are post-draft predictions.
Yeah. So you can't exactly predict it right now.
Yeah.
Because we can't even, to be honest, after having like one match from all of these teams, there's no way to even understand what everywhere. They're going to trend, you know?
Yeah. I'm fine with the numbers not being super good right now on week 1. Because I'm still getting, I think everyone is still getting adjusted to like where everyone's teams are. Like, if you asked me right now who are the 2 bottom teams in LCK, I would say probably Sandbox and Homo Life. I would feel pretty confident saying that like that's how it's gonna be too. For at least the next couple of like weeks and matches, that's what it's looking like.
I'm trying to work out what the top looks like, because I think that at the moment Afrika is definitely inflated because they've been up against 2 of the weaker teams in team dynamics.
DRX should be safe with their wins that they have.
Yeah, I know. So they took down T1 and Gen G. They're 2 teams that are definitely going to get better over the split. and knowing DRX, they're probably just going to lose to, I don't know, Hanwha next time out or something like that. I don't actually know what their next game is, but that wouldn't surprise me. But the fact that DRX walk away with those 2 wins, especially with how their second win was played as well, I think that was actually very impressive. How they were able to take down Gen G more than the cacophony that was the T1 series. I think that there were macro mistakes made on both sides of the rift all over the place, and I walked away from that series a little bit sad, actually. But Carrier and Chovy are playing just so well.
Yes.
Deft and
is very off.
His Ezreal did not look great in one of the matches, especially up against Ruler. It was not so good.
His strong points are only looking like an 8 or something, and then his lows are looking like 2s and 3s. It's really bizarre.
I feel like Deft has a lot on his plate in this team because he's the oldest and because he has to be, like, I think he's almost like a therapist for the team. He has to sort of take care of his younger players. So I think that there are responsibilities on Deft that he's never really had in teams in the past.
There's that, and then if you ever watch the interviews that Ashley and others do, Deft seems very... I don't know. It almost makes it sound like in one of those interviews. I can't remember when it was. It was in spring, right? Where like he said his only purpose left is like Worlds, and there's nothing else except for Worlds. So if something goes wrong and DRX doesn't make it to Worlds this year, is this just Deft's last year? Which is a very sad thing to think about.
It is, and I mean, I'm hoping that he's going to stay hungry, even if they make it to Worlds, even if they win Worlds, God forbid. Like, I'm hoping that he doesn't just think that it's going to be the end, because there are some interesting developments when it comes to, you know, our older players in the LCK. Actually, we've had our oldest players, I think, I believe Rich and Ixu just signed 3-year contracts.
Yes.
With their respective orgs, which is huge. Like, these are guys that are, you know, 25 odd years old, and in a region where we've been obsessed with, you know, the next 17-year-old mechanical god coming in to be the next Faker. I think it's really, really cool that Rich and Ixu are getting a chance, especially as the players that they are, right? Like,
yes,
they're eclectic, eccentric style of players who are very different from everybody else, and I think that Solhewan and Team Dynamics valuing them for that is a great step forward, because I don't think we need to find the next Faker. I think we need to find the next great player. I don't know whether it, like, you need to find that thing that's going to work for your team, not recycle something that's already happened. Like, no one's going to be the next Faker. Like, Faker he already exists.
He already is, yeah.
And unless you can clone him, you're not going to find another one.
I think you don't really become the next Faker unless Faker has a massive fall from grace. And then it takes a couple of years. Or post Faker retirement era. Is when another superstar, and I think you see this in traditional sports,
I think, like,
and even music.
Is anyone the next Michael Jordan? Has that ever happened though? Like, I don't think so.
LeBron James.
I mean, yeah, but I don't think they can ever be compared because they happen in different eras. Like, there might be arguments that LeBron James is more impressive for some reasons, you know. But like, in that like capsule of time, you will never have another Jordan. And for the same reason, you'll never have another Faker.
Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth, you know, the baseball legends.
Yeah.
This is the same thing. Murders Row.
You can go to cricket
from
you can
baseball.
Go to Donald Bradman. It's the same thing.
Yeah, you can do it in so many sports. But
sorry, Sir Donald Bradman.
I think that you can still have superstars that, you know.
Yeah.
That do become big, but they don't really become Faker. They join the same, like, conversation.
They attempt to achieve the same level of fame, and I think that, like, you know, Uzi is another one of those gigantic names.
Oh yeah, they're in the same. Yeah, they're in the same.
Unfortunately, has retired
pretty much.
I imagine actually, like, we were having a conversation about Deft. Like, if Uzi's retired, I could imagine that would have affected Deft a lot, to be honest. Because Deft and Uzi basically came into fame together. Like, Deft was always the Uzi killer back in the LPL, and after Deft left, that was when, Uzi broke out and was able to actually win his LPL titles, demonstrate how incredibly good he was. And both of them were always amazing just to watch playing against each other. Mm-hmm. And talking about Deft falling from grace and, Uzi retiring, like, we are in tumultuous times, LS. And I'm just hoping that Deft can actually turn it around, because he is still very talented. Like, him randomly pulling out Sivir and then having a game like that, like, that was really impressive. But his game 2 Ezreal performance was not so good up against Genji. But yeah, it's game 3. Did all right. So that was okay. Turning it around. Although he was complaining about his flash not working. Don't know what that was about. That was weird. Maybe Ian can grab that.
안 나가 프리.
Yoshik, so incredibly happy with that win.
Looking very angry, actually, in his player cam.
And Deft, he just mentioned something in, like, the team speak, the comms. He was just like, "Yeah, my flash didn't work. Like, we just we just destroyed the Nexus, man. What you want?" Very strange. So before we go, I apologize, guys, but the LCK awaits. But first, we need to discuss Ezreal versus Aphelios, like I promised earlier in the show. LS, can we need to dispel the myth that is Ezreal loses to Aphelios, because a lot of LCK teams are picking Ezreal first over Aphelios, prioritizing it higher. There must be a reason for that. I imagine scrims are probably an example. But yeah, what's going on?
I think like a TLDR is Aphelios is really weak to two things in specific. He's weak to long range, and he's weak to terrain morphers, or people that control terrain. So you think of like Orianna Ball, keeps him on a leash. You think of Gangplank Ultimate. You think of, I don't know, Vigar. You think of anything that makes it so that he can't just walk up and 200 years you. Now, Ezreal comes from the school of thought, of the long-range poke, the avoiding playstyle. The problem is in LCK, and also the notion that Ezreal Aphelios in a vacuum is somehow reflective of the other four champions that are in the game and what's actually happening in the context of the game is absurd. That's not analysis, it's an observation. So when you go into the actual analysis of it, one, there's low sample size, of major regions. Two, the context of the games is really important. Three, you don't look at Corki Azir and only talk about Corki Azir. You also mention like champions that surround them. Any iconic matchups that have ever existed at any point in time is never talked about in such a vacuum that Ezreal Azir is right now. LCK teams do this really weird thing where they'll draft Ezreal, and opponent will pick Aphelios, and then they will pick Engage into Aphelios so that he's happy. Wide Peepo happy. And it's really weird. We see this in other regions too. We see teams just draft into Aphelios, and he's literally sitting there with just I don't even know. He's happy. He's got his box of tissues. He is excited.
Just ready to go.
Yeah.
I think I understand why Ezreal is being picked earlier. That makes sense to me, right? Because
Ezreal's more flexible.
Ezreal's very flexible. Exactly.
Yes.
Like he fits in a dive comp because he can self-peel. He fits in a poke comp because he pokes. He fits in a split push comp because he's so safe.
Yes.
Like you can play him in multiple different modes, but I think that our LCK teams are taking the dive comp approach more often than not. They see an Aphelios and they're like, now we need to kill the Aphelios. And so they take a 5v5 dive comp into a Juggernaut comp, and the Aphelios just outplays them.
Yeah, a lot of Aphelios' wins have been like through the skin of his teeth. They've been on the back of 200 years.
Yeah, exactly.
So a lot of that stuff has happened. And then the other flip side is like what you're saying. I would say that Ezreal's weakest theme that he could ever be a part of is the dive. It just doesn't thematically fit him as good as like other options or team comps that he can be a part of. And I think that like in LCK and in all the regions, I think that LCK in general, though, the way that teams draft, they're not entertaining what the opponents are picking. They're just sort of doing what they want to do. And it just so happens that a lot of the meta champions actually walk into Aphelios. So that's the thing that happens. It's also easier to continue to get ahead with Aphelios. So if you're mid and your jungle's winning and your support's winning, it's very easy to suffocate with Aphelios than with others. There's more cheeses that exist with Aphelios. It's actually more forgiving on Aphelios.
And also more punishing when you screw up against Aphelios, right? Because you then get marked by Calibrum. You take 1 million chakrams to the back of the head purely because you've had a botched engage.
He's a good champion. One of the things I was talking about yesterday, though, is like a lot of people cite Aphelios as being like super broken or something. But the other weird thing is like we have Mark Yetter's tweet. I hope that I'm saying that right. About like the Aphelios nerfs that are incoming, or Aphelios is supposed to get nerfed again. And the real problem with Aphelios is that he's Chameleon from Mortal Kombat, and that he has like the best abilities from every AD carry, pretty much. So one of the things I was talking about with Crown Shot, SK's AD carry from LEC on stream yesterday during the LCS co-stream, was maybe there's a way to change Aphelios, to change his abilities and they gain a new effect at a certain level, because the fact that this guy has Ashe or Varus ultimate at
level 4,
it's insane. It's actually just
maybe you
insane.
should have like actual unlock timings of his weapons. I mean, that could be a thing.
That would be so. My suggestion was that so Gravitum would only slow until it hits a certain point, and then it gets the snare. Because that's a very big problem.
So it's like once Moonlight Vigil has been learnt, then it augments his abilities, perhaps.
Yeah, like
in
Victor.
Like a sort of Kale-esque vibe, or Victor.
Or Kale, yeah. Because the fact that you can get stunned by him in a Varus way, or an Ashe, Enchanted Crystal Arrow, so early on, and the fact that he has Caitlyn's headshot, and that he has the AoE wave clear of Jinx's rocket launcher, and he has Tristana's ability to basically raise turrets instantly. Like,
and he has Siv's ricochet at the same time. It's like actually everything.
He's Chameleon. He's actually Chameleon from Mortal Kombat. So, yeah, it's interesting.
I actually think that in a lot of ways is really cool, but I think that you stated it correctly the other day, which is that he's a jack of all trades and master of all trades. And I think that if you've got a jack of all trades, he needs to be a master of none. Otherwise, it's not balanced. You've given him just too many attributes across everything, you know?
Yeah.
That being said, I think as soon as he gets nerfed to the point where he's a master of none, he's never going to be seen again.
Interestingly enough, Ezreal is sort of supposed to be a jack of all trades, right? Able to do everything. And
I mean, it was supposed to be like, you know, mage and AD carry all at the same time.
Yes. And both of them are now at the top. So this is great.
There we go. You got to be flexible.
Druid life.
I guess. Yep. That's exactly how it works. I'm sorry, dude. I'm going to have to actually go. I've got Widid waiting for me at the LCK studio at Lowell Park. So that's going to be it for us today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you can subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that sort of stuff, do that too. That seems fine. Leave us a review. That sort of stuff. Follow the Twitter for more Pog State and hopefully for some highlights, things like that. Make sure you give me some feedback for that weird news segment. I hope it went okay. It was a lot of fun. I actually quite like the news anchor thing. So that was cool.
I can't wait. I'm going to tweet at you. Fake news. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, media lies.
Now, everyone, when you're watching, make sure you go and check LS's Twitter to see whether he's true to his word, because it's going to be a few days from now and he'll probably forget. Is what I'm assuming. But yeah, that is going to be it for the Pog State for episode 10. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one in a couple of weeks.